Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Rodcast. Today, we are talking about how to build a positive experience for first-time visitors to church, which is a big and important topic. So, Pastor Rod, why is this so important? It's kind of obvious, but I'll throw it your way.
You know what? When I first went to church as a new becoming to Christ person, I was so scared. In Sydney, Australia, I was a fireman. I had a good job. I had a lot of things were good, but going to church was scary. It was really scary. I didn't know what the people were like. I didn't know what the culture was like, and I just always stuck with me just how important it is to help people have a good experience on the first time. For me, that was as a non-believer in Christ or coming to Christ person, a seeker. I don't know if we still use that term, but I was a seeker. And then there's other people, even now, like if I'm visiting a church somewhere in the world, I want to know what's it going to be like. And so you check out the website and maybe Instagram, and you actually try and get a picture. I think we know people will do this.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important. If it's scary for a seeker, and it's scary for even a believer or a pastor to wonder what it's going to be like, I think it's a real issue. And therefore, I think it's great that we talk about all angles that we can. And in this discussion, some churches are smaller; they don't have a big team. We could talk about that, and then other churches are large. And so it's an individualized answer, but I think there are some themes that we could talk about.
Yeah, I'm thinking about even today with social media, YouTube, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. Like some people really investigate you before they show up. And it makes sense. I mean, they don't want to walk into an awkward situation or something.
I get the question from pastors a lot because we're known for doing social media and online production stuff. People ask all the time, "Is that important?" Or do people watch? How important is it? And my answer is, I don't know when or where, but at some point, almost everyone will look at it.
Yeah.
It'd be well above 90% that you say, "How did you come?" And it could even be through a friend, but then the friend has shown them our site or given them the Instagram.
Yeah.
So somewhere in the process, even with a friend, they're looking at something or listening to something before they come. It's really and here in Japan where people they don't know anything about Jesus at the beginning. It's very important that we give them resource to see what we're like because, unfortunately there's been some, cult activity here in Japan in the last year, and one cult's actually been outlawed, not a Christian cult, but anyway, a different cult. So even the word church in Japan right now is a scary word. So we're even thinking about using the Romanized version, which is church, chachi, more than the translation, which is kyokai. And this is a very specific thing. But in Japan, we're thinking through the eyes of what it's like for someone to hear about an invitation to church. And then we're actually showing them our Instagram, or even a lot of our youth have on their phone a part of the video of our service. And they say, it's like this. Which actually captures two things. One, it captures those who have no understanding, they're absolutely zero. And they're, it's like that. That looks quite friendly. Or for someone who's been away from church to see this is what we do and you can come and relax. So I know we've sort of jumped into it, but I think the social media and video side of our church is very, very important. So for a small church, they might say, well, we don't have a team to do that. Well, I think we need to try and do something. Even just a warm welcome. Hi, everyone. I'm Pastor such and such. Just an introduction.
Online, you
people.
mean?
Yeah, online, Instagram, whatever it is, YouTube, whatever we can do, so that there is a resource that people can hear our name and search it and see something, hear something. Oh, they look nice, or that looks interesting, or that looks whatever it is.
Yeah.
I just think the height of this with people coming to church now is very, very high. What do you think?
Yeah, I think even being able to see how people are dressed, they're smiling, laughing if there's any video, chatting, holding coffees. It gives you a vibe of, okay, this isn't like too weird. If you're a complete
Yeah.
non-Christian coming in and you're just used to the secular world, and if you see those things like laughter and normal clothes, happy people that look like me, then it's obviously going to help. It's just one less obstacle. Okay, you get a bit of an idea. Like for us, even on our website, we changed the banner to kind of like a silent video, and that just communicates so much more, obviously, than a still frame photo. You can see all these different people, and I just think that it would help a new person get a picture of the church. And also, if someone maybe a Christian and they're looking for something completely different, I'd rather just save them the time. Maybe they can find a church that's more suitable for them. They can see what we're really like. I think transparency is good.
Yeah. And can I just interject here too? Some people might be saying, well, it's not about the appearance. It's not about that. It's about the heart. And we would agree that is the center of a church, is to see the heart of Jesus Christ and his word. To love Jesus and his word is our goal. But I was always told as a young believer on this sort of stuff that people have to feel, as a human, have to feel welcome before they open their hearts.
Yeah.
And I think it is important that we understand that even first impressions, which we'll come to in a minute, it might sound worldly, but it's incredibly human. I could just imagine Jesus wherever he went. He was just so human. He was God and human, but the human side was beautiful, was warm, the children are probably jumping all over him, and the disciples say, take the children away, and Jesus says, no, bring the children. The picture of Jesus, we need to understand that's very important for parents, for families. Most people would understand this, but I know that there are some people who might say, well, it's not that important. And I would say, actually, me at 19 as a fireman coming to church, the church wasn't what I expected. I mean, back in 1980, can you believe it? Actually, 1979. There was no video. There was no social media. So it's just on friends inviting and then coming. It wasn't what I expected. I don't know what I expected, but it was small. It was very nice people, but most people were older. It wasn't my style. I was coming out of a surfing scene, and no judgment on the church, but it just wasn't my style. But the people were super friendly, very nice people, and I really enjoyed that. But I just think I remember the feeling of coming to church as a seeker, and then maybe even going to other churches later on. The humanity side is very important. That people feel this is a place of trust. These are nice people. They have a message. So I think it is important that we discuss these things. And even we're talking about before they come, the invitation, probably they will search somewhere, right?
Yeah. And I think there's even truth in scripture where, when David is being chosen, and it says that, man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. Well, we're not trying to get God to church. We're trying to get man.
Right.
And they're looking at the outward appearance.
Right.
That's what they judge things on. And so, and it makes sense. That's all they've got to go off is what they can see and hear. And so, I think it's really important.
I in Japan, I bring up a little metaphor or picture that for Japanese to give a present to somebody, a gift, it has to be nicely wrapped for a Japanese person. It's just culture. In fact, when you go and buy something at a department store here, they wrap it for free. Isn't that amazing? In beautiful paper and a ribbon, and that's for free.
Presentation
that's service.
matters. Yeah.
It's just incredible. But if I had a really expensive gift and I gave it to a Japanese in a brown paper bag, and we do amongst close friends, but I'm talking about maybe a newer friend, it could be seen as an insult. And so even culturally in Japan, the concept of the gift has to be wrapped nicely for me to even look inside. I think it's part of the metaphor here in probably in Hong Kong, probably in Asia, maybe the world. that there's this concept of if it's valuable, it should look nice on the outside. Now, we're not saying that our churches are all about the outside. We're agreeing on that. But it's this invitation, first impressions, heart open side. And actually, it is our heart too, to do things nicely. So it's not just fake, it's real. And here's the exciting thing: there's people in our churches that love that side of presentation. Isn't that good? My wife is one. For
Yeah,
me, I
sure.
do care about presentation, but I'm thinking more of ease and comfort, whereas she's thinking of ease and comfort plus more, plus what the decoration and
Yeah,
the low cost decorations that anybody can do. That's where
yeah,
Viv and others really excel.
yeah,
So we're not talking about $1 million budgets. We're talking about people with the gifts that we can
yeah,
find, utilize, and they're so excited. And people walking in and just noticing. In fact, at Christmas, they had these special Christmas lights on the side, and I walked in with Viv, my wife, and she said, "Did you notice the lights?" I said, "Oh, wow, looks great." It really meant something to her to present
sure.
something nice to people.
Yeah,
There is that gift.
yeah, I relate to that. I care a lot about atmospheres, and especially when people are bringing their families, and you want them to be comfortable. And I think if people are on their guard, that's not how you want them in church. You want them to open up as quickly as possible. And I think that
Yeah,
the whole atmosphere and presentation is huge.
yeah, yeah.
And
So do
even
what you
even how the process of getting to church, the
right.
practical
Yeah,
process of where is your venue, what's the access like, what does the building look like. For us, we've got difficult elevators in our building. The elevators are not ideal, and sometimes people can come up through the back and kind of miss our welcome team altogether if we don't have someone down on the ground floor. We're on the second floor. And so you can't even go up the stairs.
yeah,
You've only got elevators, and
yeah,
so we need to make sure we've got someone at the front so that no one can sneak in and have a bad experience where they walk in a side door and there's no one there to welcome them, and it's confusing. And
sure.
yeah, so thinking through all of that signage, probably another topic there that's really important. Clear signage, where to go.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, especially when you're dealing with multi-story buildings and things like that, when you don't have
yeah,
a clear church building
yeah.
where it's just a church.
And most of just so people know, Lifehouse, we don't actually own any buildings; we rent. So,
Hmm.
we have 15 physical campuses all over Asia, and most of them are what Richard just said, in buildings. And because we don't own them, we get pushed around a little bit. So there's a new venue here this week, a new venue here. So it's very important that we give notice, give warnings to people, and
Hmm.
we send out on either line or WhatsApp, or definitely on the website, definitely
Yeah,
uh, publicly. Next week we're here, or here's our schedule for the month, and we'll send it to you. Please come on to our, we call it's line or WhatsApp or
yeah,
whatever. That there's good communication back to people if there is a shift, if there's a change of venue. I know a lot of the world do have physical venues, so this might be irrelevant,
yeah,
but maybe not. Maybe it's really important to keep putting out there the easy way to come, or especially on public transport. Have our maps up to date, our website up to date,
yeah,
and I think the other thing is that we, whoever writes to us, we must have a person to write back. Where are you this week or whatever? What do you do? That person be onto it. And we on our website we put, it's your first visit, plan your visit. I know probably
mm,
thousands of churches do that,
yeah.
but having someone actually
It's been good.
be good on that and pastoral and interact.
Hmm.
And we find in Tokyo, with the plan your visit, and we get quite a lot. About half are tourists, which are great, they're lovely, but the other half are actually locals looking for a church. So we have to handle those in a different way. But again, it's the speed with which we can respond to that is very, very important. That we give people time to plan and thank you, and I'll see you Sunday. And so even before they come to church, there is some people wanting to connect. Not a lot, but there are some. I
Mhm.
don't know if that's the same in Hong Kong, but that's
Yeah.
definitely Japan.
Well, you guys were doing that, and I wanted to get it happening, and we had talked, and you were like, "Yeah, just do it. Like it'll bring some people." And honestly, I have more people filling out that form than I ever thought they would.
Right.
Really, because we're not offering too much. We're not offering this
No.
special experience or anything like that. It's more just like information of how to get to church, which strangely enough is all on the website. And it's
Yeah.
funny, people will text in saying, "Oh, how do I get to church?" And they're on the website texting us,
Right.
and it's all there. So, yeah, I mean, people are people and they're a lot of fun. And I just think the more info you have, the better it's going to be. And
Yeah.
you can just send them a link
Yeah.
and to your address
Yeah.
page or something on your website. It needs to be
That's
clear though.
great. Yeah. And probably a Google map or a Google Pin or something like that. You can just put it straight on your phone.
Yes.
Whether it's you're coming by car or train or walking, whatever, you're going to have on your phone. Wake up that morning, you're not worried. That's another thing. People are worried about how long it's going to take them, and will I find it, and
Hmm.
that whole front end. It's amazing. I think on Sunday morning or whatever, when people wake up, they make a decision right there. Are they coming or not? So even with Plan Your Visit, we find about 50% of people actually come on that Sunday. That means 50% don't, which is fine. But again, just a touch in the week. Hey, missed you on Sunday. Would you like to plan again? Like no hassle. Just touch. Because a lot of things happen on a Sunday morning, right? The wake up and the
Yeah.
child is sick, or
Yeah.
the battery's flat, or it's super cold, you can't start the car, or you just don't feel well, or you miss the turn, or so many things can happen. And you hear later people saying, "Oh, I almost made it, but I took the wrong turn," or here in Japan, I got on the wrong train, or I missed the stop. There's so many things, and it's just human, and we've got to
Mm.
help those people to maybe try again.
Mm. What do you think about when people actually walk in the door? So
Yeah.
they've got there. What do you want? Like, what's in your heart, like for a new person to
Yeah.
experience?
Well, definitely signage at the front, so I know which floor to go to, or I'm at the right place.
Yeah.
If it's a big building, of course, it's going to have huge signage. But again, a lot of our churches around Asia are not like that. You put up the pop up church and the pop up sign, but with the
Yeah,
sign, I
which
think
we
it's got to
can't
be
even do. If we put anything on the street. I mean, imagine if every business had a sign on the street and there's 20 different floors and each floor has three
mm,
businesses on it. Like there'd be
no,
nowhere to walk. So there's
yeah,
regulations. We can't have anything out there. We have to have a person holding something or
right,
in a t-shirt
yeah,
or like a human sign,
yeah.
basically.
And I think even most most great churches have people at the door holding a sign
For
saying,
sure.
welcome,
Yeah.
or our church is here, or whatever it is. It's very important those people are nice and happy and smiling.
Yeah.
Um, I'd like to think everyone's like that, but some people are a little bit more. That's not their thing. So
Yeah.
finding out who's great at the
Yeah.
front and with the sign, with and also being aware if someone's showing a interest in what you're doing. Hello, so that's a person. That's a personality. That's a
Yeah.
temperament. Not everyone has to be an extrovert, but everyone has to be smiling
Yeah.
and happy. So I think that first touch person and sign is like, I'm here.
Yeah.
We It's like that's the first relaxation, and then the person's nice. And then in your church, they'd say, "Come in this door and that elevator, second floor." It's very clear direction. You got kids, take them to, is it the 11th floor with you?
Yep. For us. Yep.
Yeah. So the person at the front must be able to give quick information.
Yep.
Uh, Otherwise, they're going to wrong floors and wasting time. For us, we do have probably a better elevator situation, but again, everything I just said makes sense. Front. We've actually,
Hmm.
from the train station where we are, is the back entrance of our church. You can't go in, and it's very confusing because that's the building.
Right.
It's right there. I found the building, but no, you've got to go right around the other side to the entrance. So we have to have someone on the back side with the sign saying it's around the other side of the building, because I believe people. I've seen people, they're confused. Like, So again, understanding the route as much as we can, and if we have the people, and then they find it, and then for us the elevators are very easy. It's all done. So yeah, just walking. A lot of people say walk through your venue, walk through the approach into your venue as if you were a first-time visitor. Just those eyes.
Yeah.
What it would be like to find your venue. So I think you've got a lot of good in Hong Kong there. A lot of good. You're in Temple Street, right? That's a pretty good, pretty well-known name.
Yeah, we're on a famous street actually in Hong Kong, but we're in a building that is run by a Christian organization, and there's a number of ministries in the building, and so we have to clarify. Like, people could literally go to the wrong church in that building. So we need a clear situation, and I think, to your point, the person standing has to be more than just a human sign. They can't just be. They have to engage people, and because they're people's first impression. I think in a lot of other countries, it's the car park people.
Yeah,
that's their first impression of church. But in for our culture, we don't have car parks, and we have that person standing down on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So they got to be engaging.
So first impressions do matter, and I've actually seen people turn around and walk away if it was both in Australia with a car park situation or in Asia with a access situation. I've actually have seen that, and my heart goes, my heart drops. I wish we could have helped somewhere there so they could experience great church together. So when they come in, there's a saying. I used to be a salesman, and there's a saying: you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Now, for Christians, that's not true. We've got to be bigger than that. But I do think we have to understand that. And a lot of people say that people make up their decision about your church in the first 5 minutes. We would probably say they make up their mind in the actual welcome before church. There's a lot that happens in those first few minutes. So let's move into that side. So we've got people welcoming, they're coming in, they're already thinking about kids or toilets access, or when does it start that people are stressed, or there's a lot of things to help people into the room, and then to realize that some of them actually come late as well. Like, how do we help people in? There's a lot of questions as a team that we need to talk about. But I think the first 10 minutes before church and the first 10 minutes after church is very important for our pastoral and caring teams, welcome teams. So, we've been talking about this, right? The 10 minute, 10 minutes, who cares how many minutes? But the concept of availability of key team, of key staff.
And our team understanding that is the key time. Like, don't be having like little admin chats or catching up with people about something that you could talk to them about during the week. During that time, you've got to be on your game with these new people and their first experiences, because they're gonna a lot of them will leave real quick, and they may come in late because they got lost or something, and then they'll leave as soon as the service ends. And so we need to have a plan, and I think if our key people are all busy like doing production stuff or other planning stuff, it's just or even just chatting with good people, I think it's we got to prioritize well in those before and after times.
And I think especially for pastors and key people need to be free if they can to meet and greet, but not just pastors, really good people who have that gift to try and get them out of production areas if we have the team. That's a big if, especially for smaller churches, which we have some, to try and simplify the setup, pull down, because our churches are all pop up except for yours, or even yours is on the second floor is pop up. To try and take most of our key greeting people out of production things in that 10 minutes and 10 minutes after church. So we're trying to prioritize people-to-people conversations, interactions. How can we help you? And And I think that's really a big part of our church, don't you, Richard? I think we've built that into the fabric of Lifehouse.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's hugely important. And I, I look, so many times I've heard people say that they had the welcome, the way they were treated, the fact that people talked to them and they were engaged with when they came was a big part in their decision to make Lifehouse their home. And
Yeah.
sometimes they do say that they've been other places and no one talked to them, and it's just a different experience. And I've seen some people come. There've been time. Well, I'm sure we're not perfect in this, and there's been people that we've missed, and it breaks my heart when I see someone walking out the door, and I know we didn't get to that person. So we want to build systems and train our leaders and all of that, build a culture all around this so that we can hopefully try to fill as many gaps as we can. We might not get to perfection, but I think we can do well.
I think so. And obviously, if you're a smaller church, you probably get less visitors. A larger church, more visitors. So I think it probably is a ratio thing of trying to release so many people into these tasks for meeting. So if you're a small church and you have 5 visitors, you really need 5 people, 100, whatever it is. It's ratio based. Like, we try and make people available to meet people. And then we talk a lot about how do you engage people? And this is something we've been talking about lately, some key words. And as I said, I was in sales marketing for many years, and then I was a pastor from my mid-20s, later 20s. So I've been a pastor 38 years. And the whole thing of questions, what questions do you ask and how do you ask? The manner in which you ask questions is really important. So we're actually trying to train in this area. And I've just found, that's a lot of years, 38 years to be a pastor. I've found asking questions of people consistently, almost nobody gets upset when I ask questions. I'm not saying I'm a bigwig. I just learn a lot of things. And I think that we can learn the art of question asking that's not invasive. It's not a questionnaire. It's about the person. The heart of it is, how can we help you? This is who we are and how can we help you? And I think I'm smiling right now as I think about all the good times that the first question, hello, how are you? What's your name? And you may not remember the name, by the way, but just the intentionality, I think that was the word you use. You like that word, right? It being intentional. That's what you say with your team?
Yeah. I think it's very important, because I think we can spend 3 minutes talking about surface level stuff that doesn't help us understand the person and what their next step is. And of course, there's some surfacey stuff there. I mean, that's normal when you meet someone, but we have to get to that key information that can help us to guide the person onto what is next, because otherwise they may stay at the level that they're at. And so, I think we intentional with our questions. And
so
I've never had someone get upset with the right questions. I've probably had someone get upset with the wrong question. Like we joke about asking people, is it your first time? And which is fine if it's your first time, but if they've come 5 times and you just didn't see them, you've now communicated that you did not notice them. And that doesn't feel good. That's not a good feeling. So maybe that's not a great question. There's a better way to phrase that, such as, how long have you been coming, or how many times have you come?
And I think it's just a really quick way for entry into who are these people. Because if they say it's first time, it's like, okay, well, let me explain some things. If it's 5th time, how are you feeling about things? So the next question is dependent on that question. Hi, what's your name? Probably I'd say that, where are you from, or how long are you in city? I'd ask that question. Just I can understand, are they a tourist? Are they here for 3 months? Are they living here? They've been living here 10 years. Just a quick understanding of them. You got 3 kids here. Just a couple, and then how many times have you been, or how long have you been here? And that opens up avenues, lanes of other questions, which I think does show interest in people. If someone says it's the first time, well, the toilets are there and the kids' church there. Can I help you? Is very, very clear
Mhm.
movement.
Yeah.
Or fifth time, have your kids been to kids? You know what to do there. Okay, how do you feel about church? So the questions are vibrant, are
Yeah.
dynamic. And although we do have some questions that we want to ask, it does have to stay very organic and are all about the person. And then,
Yeah.
how can I give you information quickly about who we are, and so you understand what you've walked into? And again, for non-Christian in Japan, never been to church, and a Christian from a Christian country, that's a very different process.
Yeah.
So, but it's fun. Isn't this fun? Do you like it?
Yeah, I do. And I think you don't want to overscript it. It's
No.
good to understand maybe the key things, the key topics, but you can ask things a number of different ways, but you don't want to be working through a script and have it all mechanical. And you might
Yeah.
go off on a tangent a little bit about their work or something like that.
Sure.
So it needs to be fluid, but
Yeah.
the goal is to understand the person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how can we help you? How can we connect? And of course, in one corner, we've got what we call the DNA corner, which is all about who we are, which is probably more for your Christians coming in,
Yeah.
especially from certain countries coming in, and they've got a
Yeah.
pretty strong Christian background. Okay, would you like to know who we are? Grab that book, grab that PDF, whatever it is, and have a read straight
Yeah.
away. For us in Japan, with no knowledge of God, we could do that, but we also want to talk about what is church, who is Jesus. So,
Yeah.
and then pass them on to, especially a Japanese person speaking Japanese is very important here. So pass them on to a team member who's then going to engage them with what is church and who is Jesus. And also we have Alpha and a number of other processes where people can actually ask early questions.
Yeah.
Because churches that are not seeing those form of not yet believers coming in need to think through that,
Yeah.
because they're not going to understand a lot of our terminology even. In fact, in the service, they're not going to understand a lot of things. They're not going to understand. Anyway,
Hmm.
what I want to do afterwards, this is flipping to the end now, that we have a short service. Maybe we'll talk about that on another video, because I think
Yeah.
these things are important for
Yeah.
seekers. What do we do with seekers? But at the end of the service, we have a 1 hour service. At the end of the service, again, there's welcome, there's coffee, there's people, there's buzz, there's things happening, and we want to engage them on how was it.
Hmm.
Again, Japanese are very kind, and they're going to want to interact. So probably Hong Kong people have got more church background. They've been to Christian school or
Yeah.
something. There's more
Yeah.
context, isn't there?
Yeah.
But still,
For sure.
would you say probably the questions are almost the same?
Yeah. Yeah. I sometimes ask them, why did you come to church today? And because maybe they've been away from church for a long time, and just oftentimes that question
Yeah,
kind of just brings out a bit more of their story.
it's great.
But it's almost the same. I mean, having lived in both cultures, it's still human principles
Yeah,
that are quite universal.
sure. I met a young couple, Japanese couple, lovely. Straight away, did you come with someone else? Yes, I came with that family. And I turned around, they were there. Hello, thank you for bringing them. And I said, so how many times have you been? First time. You've never been to church? No, this is the first experience. We get this a lot in Japan. We love it.
Hmm.
We get the chance to invite of them to experience for the first time. So I have a few questions I ask. So did you enjoy it? This young married couple, probably about 23. Did you enjoy it? Yes. Now, most Japanese will say that. That's very, very kind people.
Sure.
Um, but so then my next question is, what did you think of the music? And they, very surprising, because our music is very contemporary. It was very good. Did you find the people friendly? Yes. And then I say, did you understand my message or the message? And they say, no, totally don't understand at all. So it's quite an in-your-face answer. And I had that, like, we came here 21 years ago. I had that answer back 21 years ago. I still got it 2 weeks ago. So I love this sequence of questions. And when they say I didn't understand, it's not a negative. It's really honest. It's actually refreshing. And then I ask the next question, okay, you didn't understand it all, but was it a positive message? And they always say yes, always. And that's what I want to hear as the pastor. If they say it was boring or didn't, no. But Japanese will give an honest answer. I didn't understand it. And then they'll give an honest answer to, was it positive? So the reason why
Mm.
that's important, and some of you think, well, you didn't really do a good job of communication. I say you need to understand our context. We're taking people with no knowledge of Christ through, and it's a lot of fun. But then the question is, it was positive. So would you possibly come again? So you're going in
Yeah.
a sequence of questions with this seeker, and they might say no, or they might say pull out their diary and say I could come in 2 months, or they might say I'll come when I can. Whatever their answer is, it's probably true. It is true, and so we've just got to work with that. But the thing about question asking is I found out a whole bunch of things about this beautiful couple, and then where do you live? How can we help you? And you're with your friends and young married couple, and I might start to talk about marriage preparation course. They're married, but in Japan, very, very few people have ever done any marriage,
Yeah.
Christian marriage prep at all, ever. So I'm just thinking through avenues. We got this. You don't have to do anything, but this is what we've got. We've got Alpha. If you want to hear more about who is Jesus, and so what about you, Richard? How would you work with seekers, actual genuine seekers, with questions?
Yeah. Depends if they're by themselves or if they've been brought by a friend. For example, me and Janice just recently invited our kids like homework tutor to church, and she's like a uni student, and she brought her boyfriend, and I'm seeing them in the at church. It was a week after Christmas, and they had their hands up and everything. But I know she's not a Christian, but she said, I went to a Christian high school, which is quite common here in Hong Kong. There's a lot of Christian schools. But her boyfriend is there with her, and they're kind of holding hands, and he's doing it as well. He's never been to church in his life. First time ever, but he was with his girlfriend, and I think he felt comfortable. And so he was like very open and yeah, just asking him questions, same kind of things that we've been talking about. And, if he'd like to come back, because she's about to move to Korea, he's going to stay in Hong Kong. And it's like, hey, why don't you come back again? And asking him also what is it experience, what did he feel about church? And he said it's great, was really good. Just very positive. I very rarely, I can't even think of someone saying
I know, right?
something
Yeah.
like bad.
Yeah.
We probably get less of the I didn't understand thing.
Right.
I think that's just purely the Christian background of, that's in our culture,
Yeah.
thanks to many missionaries over many years. But it's always positive. I mean, I'm not afraid to really ask any of these questions at all. I'm not on the fence about it. It's just, this is easy to ask.
Right.
And I asked them, hey, what do you feel about God?
Hmm.
Have you ever thought about having a relationship with Jesus? And if you're in a church, you can ask churchy questions. It's different if you're on the street and you just met someone. But if they've just sat through a church service, you can ask very honest questions. And as long as you don't get upset by their answer,
Right.
like they might say, I'm not really interested. I just came because my girlfriend asked me. Cool. No problem. I'm not going to act shocked, but I've never had someone be upset at asking, quite direct questions about their faith journey.
Well, that's really interesting, Richard, because a lot of people are scared to bridge into these questions. But you're right. People have just had this experience.
Context.
I think it's very human to ask,
Yeah.
what did you think? What did you feel? Would
Yeah.
you like? And I think if we back away, then we have missed an opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, people can put their hand up and say, I don't want to talk about it. But again, whether it's Australia or wherever I've been, very rarely has anyone ever done that.
Yeah.
They might say, I've got to go, different ways of exiting, but never rejection. And that's
Yeah.
why we're trying to train our teams who are not pastors, but good team members, just to ask good questions. And
Mhm.
maybe we can talk about this again, and some others talk about it. But I think it's really important that we do talk, that people are very open with good
Very open.
questions. Yeah.
And if they're in a church building and they've
Yeah.
just sat through the whole service and they didn't get up and leave, and then sticking around and they've got a coffee in their hand, like that shows you a level of openness that
Yeah.
you should be able to talk about, at least at a high level, their faith or church experience. It is not awkward at all. They could have left at any time.
Yeah.
They didn't have to be there on a Sunday morning. So I don't think any of that's off limits.
Mm,
And I've never experienced pushback.
yeah. In fact, the opposite is true. I think if we don't say anything, people will go away and say the church was unfriendly. I
Yeah.
think there's actually a penalty for not asking
Agree.
and engaging.
I think it's care. I think it's actually seen as care.
Yeah.
So
Great.
it's very, very positive. Wow,
Fantastic.
cool. Well,
Yeah.
I think we better wrap this up. We've been 40
Yep.
minutes, so it's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but basically, hey, we want to give people an awesome first experience, and obviously an awesome second, third, fourth, fifth, and for the rest of their church experience, we want it to be great. But this is big. Let's keep working on it.
Yeah.
And training our leaders in this area. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you enjoyed today's episode, why don't you subscribe on whatever platform you are listening to this, and we'll see you next time.